Here is the step-by-step blueprint for you to hit your client goal online by the end of this year. And it's the same process that we've used to help 1,200 other coaches that you're seeing around here to do the same. This is an exclusive recording of a recent webinar we did on the annual planning process to build the automated selling system. And because you are a dear YouTube subscriber, we want to share it with you. So enjoy, and if you want us to just install the whole thing into your business for you, then click on the link in the description below and we can have a chat. Good evening.
Hello, everyone. I ask this pretty much every time we do a training. It just helps me customize things a little bit, just so I know who's watching. Do we have more than or less than 10 online clients? If you can just give me that, either which side of that you are on. So either give me okay, less, more, mostly less. Cool. Okay, pretty much everybody there's less. Less isn't zero. Okay. In that case, I think I've pitched this well at you guys, so should be useful. Let me just share. All right. So the reason we're doing this, the reason for the timing, can everyone see that, by the way? Guessing so.
Yep.
Sweet. The reason for the timing is, as you will all see with, well, maybe you have it in your own fitness journey, maybe you work with clients face to face. You'll have had this conversation before where people get to the end of the year and then start thinking about new year and planning and just generally leave things far too late. And in the fitness industry, it's the busiest time of year. So the end of December, the start of January is the busiest time in fitness industry, bar none. Paired with usually August is kind of the dip. People are on holiday, kids are off school. September, schools go back, people are kind of swept away in the rush and all that sort of stuff. Festive stuff stops happening, parties start happening. End of December, people are like, I'd love to get in shape for New Year. Everyone thinks that every year. And then they start buying programs and looking for things and signing up for gyms so that they're ready for January. And then obviously in January, there's a rush as well. And so people kind of leave all of that planning too late on the fitness side, but most importantly on the business side, coaches start thinking far too late. If only I had an online program to kind of capitalize on this, or if only I had my marketing better, if only I could take on more clients, whatever. If you manage that period correctly, you can literally, assuming the goal is online clients, which I guess most of you watching this, it will be, you can literally fill your client roster for the entire year if you do it well. And if you miss out on it, you do miss out on kind of the highest period of demand and activity in fitness for a year, basically. It isn't really replicated in any other part of the year. To make the most of it, some of this stuff sounds obvious, but you need the ability to coach people online. So you need a program tested, the systems. You need to have the capacity for people as well. You need a way to attract leads. So you can't just do what some people try, which is just like, well, if I build a program and post it on my Instagram once, people will want to buy it. We need a way to attract leads who are interested and then convert those people into buying that program. We need pricing, systems, software, all that stuff ready to go. So getting to the end of December and starting this stuff is too late. Even getting to November and starting this stuff is too late. The reason why we think now is the time is if you make the most of the time between now and the end of the year, you can basically have it all done, all built, and get a good result in the meantime. Essentially, kind of the minimum dose is it can be done. It does take work. It does definitely take time. It's challenging. Our kind of prescription is 12 weeks and around 10 hours a week of focused time, assuming you do the right things and you're efficient and you focus and all that sort of stuff. And done correctly, you could be sort of in April 2025, March, April 2025, looking back on the first 3 months of the year with results like this. These are all anonymized just so that our clients don't get hassled. But looking at April, an income of 8.9K. So reach the target that this client had it from the first quarter of the year. You could be in that position, but it starts now. It doesn't start in December. It doesn't start in January. And so it takes a bit of planning. And that's why we think kind of start of September, last 4 months of the year, it's the perfect time of the entire year because it's short enough to stay focused, but it's long enough to actually get some meaningful stuff done. So what does that roadmap actually look like? Let's say you were to start, whatever it is, the first week of September, start now. What does that look like in terms of the phases, the steps? This is kind of what we consider to be the perfect roadmap for getting everything ready for a launch, either in December or January, depending. September, we think, is all about putting the groundwork in, testing, getting stuff ready. So the first thing you need to do is, who are you going to sell to? Who are you going to help? How are you going to help them? Why are they going to care? What is your offer? What is your price? All that sort of stuff, the basics. If you're working with us, that would also be customizing assets inside of our software. So we give our clients a load of stuff that they just have to sort of fill the blanks in: landing pages, automations, websites, emails, all that sort of stuff, making them your own, and then start actually generating leads either for free or with ads, and then run the first test of your automated selling system. So that's what September would look like. It sounds like a ton, but again, if you're fencing off time in the week, working in these kind of focus blocks, you can get a lot done in a short space of time. Here's some results from a client who tested all of this in the start of working with us. 20 people signed up for the beta test. So over $2,000 generated in the testing phase before the full launch with ads even happens. In October, we're then working with the people who've signed up for this beta test to perfect the systems, to perfect the program, because the best program ultimately is one that is built with clients, not in a room, in a room on your own. Looking at what clients need, what they struggle with, what they're asking questions about, building that in response to what your clients want. That's always going to produce the best outcome. Analyzing the results from that first test you've done, fixing any issues, and then ideally launching everything again with ads. So now we're going to test the paid traffic side of things, the automated lead generation side of things. Here's just an example of another client who took 1,700 in sales from his first run with ads and doubled his money, which is a pretty good result. Then in November, if you live in the UK, the weather's starting to get pretty bad at this point. The nights are pretty dark. What else to do than analyze your ad performance? Look at what's working, look at the winning images, all the tests, all the targeting. You end up building this perfect system. You have this thing that's worked. So you ran ads to a sales system that didn't require a phone call, it didn't require DMs. People signed up for your program, they're starting going through it, they're starting to go through it, they're starting to get results, they're starting to stay and bill again, all that sort of stuff. And you can start to build the back end kind of follow-up sequences that we have as well that bring in clients. So by the end of November, by just following this really simple roadmap and blueprint, you've got your niche, your offer, your price, all proven and sorted. Your program's built, it's being tested by clients. People are in it, they're getting results. You have your lead generation built with ads, it's automated, it's working. You have your sales system built that's working, doesn't require you to be there to make it work. And really, we're now just kind of poised and waiting for the right time to pull the trigger to do this big launch for the end of the year, which can either be in December or January. But we do this big promo, this big launch for New Year with a combination of ads and organic, however you want to do it. Here are just some numbers. 3,000 profit from one challenge run. This was Kevin presented us with a lovely table. 8 sales, 1,800 in revenue. Phoebe's challenge, 29 sales in a day, 18K in a week. Some pretty big numbers. Depends on what your ambitions are, depends on lots of things, but some big numbers are possible if you do this well. And the nice thing is you can take time off fully at the end of December if you want to. Just fully recharge, eat your body weight in chocolate, however it is you want to spend that period of time. So that's the roadmap. And I'm going to cover for the rest of this presentation how to actually do that. But that's kind of how we would piece it together. Those are the steps between September and December. So if you have any questions on any of that, just feel free to type in the chat box.
Hopefully that all makes sense so far. If there's any terms or anything that you're not sure of, don't be shy. We obviously we're familiar with leads, organic ads, all that stuff. But if you're not sure what that refers to, then just post in the comments. One thing to correct as well, Phoebe's launch was 18K in that screenshot, but when she actually closed out the full challenge for her first one, it topped out at, was it 28K? So
It was big. It was a big day.
so that was kind of usually with the automated system, the first couple of weeks is where most of the sales come through, and then you'll get a few stragglers on the subsequent few days.
We probably can't do the full 10 minutes, I'm afraid, Ala. But you'll be able to catch the recording. Assuming, are we recording this?
Yeah.
There we are.
So Chris Parkhouse says, ask this with respect for you guys and all you do. What's the key added ROI from working with you guys compared to building to build the system compared to a video course that James Smith is setting up a system for January that way? Are you likely to um, something that doesn't require one-to-one mentoring? So there's a lot of questions in this, Chris. So we can go through um, the second two towards the end, but really the system depends on what you want your life to look like, how you want your business to look, and how you want your week to look. Any mentorship, any method, any book that you get off the shelf on business will work if you apply yourself to it. But really, what we're doing here, and if you look at the way that our client results are structured and the way that people are able to gain that freedom, is how do I want my relative distribution of time and money and freedom and so on to look like? And really, over the last 14 years, this is the optimal balance of all of that that we've found. We've tried pretty much every type of funnel and mechanism and lead source and traffic method, and this has always landed on the best lifestyle balance for an online coaching business. But very happy to dig into that in more detail if you want to.
It's also, we've not done, neither of us have done James's course. Both met James is an awesome guy. His business is obviously very impressive. I think the way that we make decisions, or the reason we arrived at what we're doing, and I'm going to be covering this in a second, is I don't think anybody really wants to kind of become a slave to like building a following, posting their life on social media, and you ultimately need eyeballs. You need leads from somewhere. So you either have to put yourself out there and try and do that for free on these platforms, which is very difficult because the platforms don't want that. They don't want you to be the next James Smith, really. They want you to struggle and pay money on ads because that's where the revenue comes from. So that's kind of one road to go down. We tried that. We struggled with it, honestly, because it is really hard. And not many people succeed with it.
Yeah,
And we ended up,
I should say as well, like we are not capable of being James Smith. Like we're
well,
not we're quite boring guys. We're not very charismatic, and so that route of trying to replicate James Smith's results by being James Smith is not something that we personally are capable of doing. But certainly, if the organic traffic route is the way that you want to go, and you like the business model, then yeah, for sure. And
yeah,
he's legit. He's a great guy. We've met him a few times.
it's
Um,
just it's different in the sense that from what I understand from what James teaches, and how we differ. Obviously, we got Propane Fitness to work through ads, so we get our leads, we get our traffic, our clicks, our eyeballs to see who we are and what we offer through paying Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all these platforms for leads. And we prefer that, as Yusuf said, it's a lifestyle play because it's automated, so we don't have to do anything once it's set and running. And then we found as well with selling fitness coaching, not doing like the manual stuff, so not doing sales calls, not doing cold messages and that sort of stuff, that we could make a sale in a way that was automated. And again, far better from a lifestyle perspective. So we feel like what we built fit our life, and obviously the people we work with, they're enticed by that because it doesn't involve sales calls all day. It doesn't involve posting on social media all day. There's a lot of automation in it. So that's the main difference. But as Yusuf says, you've got to pick the I think you've got to pick the life you want that's attached to the business you're trying to build and run. And I would also ask any mentor with what you're teaching, let's say I run into a challenge with it and it doesn't work. What's the kind of contingency plan? How do you troubleshoot this? Because if the answer is just, oh, well, you keep posting until it kind of eventually works, that's not really a business. That's kind of a hope and pray strategy. I'm not saying that's James, but that is definitely some people. So it's worth asking that question.
yeah, I mean we're actually pretty much in the cave. We're not that aware of what other mentors are doing and teaching because we have found what works and we can only teach what we've done, which is generating a consistent 20K MRR, monthly recurring revenue from a challenge model and into group coaching without using sales calls for acquisition.
I'm a tiny following,
Yeah.
am I?
And being
Just like
weird,
10.
uncharismatic, boring guys.
Yeah. Um, so that I mean, I guess that is the next question, right? Why should you, if I was sat listening to this, I would be thinking, why should I listen to these two? Um, we built, started, run propanefitness.com. You might have heard of that before, maybe not. We've coached quite a few people on their diet and training at this point. We've been working in the online fitness industry kind of before it was cool, to be honest. I think that's our biggest claim to fame. Um, the biggest challenge we had when we started was like, what's online coaching? Our clients used to ask us that. It's more established now. But we're pretty weird for this industry. So I used to work as an accountant. Yusuf used to work as a doctor, and we decided to leave those industries and work in the fitness industry, which is not a common career path for our kind of friends and family. That's not what people were expecting. Um, we managed to build Propane Fitness to 40 grand a year, which is not a huge business, but it was pretty cool at the time while we were working 60, 70-hour work weeks in accountancy and medicine. So we did it in a very efficient way. We did it in a very kind of time bound way. It was evenings and weekends. Took us a very, very long time, obviously. Made a lot of mistakes in the process, learned a lot in the process. And we then scaled that to 16K per month and beyond that at 50% net profit because of the way that we built things in a 60-month window without sales calls and a teeny tiny following online. Honestly, it took us, I think, like 7 or 8 years to get 10,000 followers on Instagram. So that's not how we did it. We used systems, we used ads, we used automation. And we did this by basically using what we learned in careers in finance, in other industries, looking at other businesses outside of fitness and just replicated what they were doing. And we realized that some of the biggest service providers in the world aren't using sales calls, aren't using Instagram. They're using these kind of automated strategies. We just modeled that, but put it into the fitness industry and it worked. And basically, we've packaged our system into a blueprint that others can copy while basically filling in the blanks. And we tried to solve as many problems as possible for our market. So we give clients one-to-one coaching, one-to-one help, access to a ton of resources, templates, downloads, their own software platform. We're always trying to sort of solve the complexity for people so that other people can use this system for themselves. All right. It's a bit longer than I was expecting for the intro, so I'm gonna pick up the pace a bit. So the 4 questions that you need to answer before January 2025 to have all this working is basically, who are you selling to and why would they listen to you? So what I've just covered for you guys about us. How do you turn those people into leads and then into customers? How do you build something that can handle 50 plus clients, or more specifically, something that doesn't just break whenever you add a new client into it? Because everyone runs into that problem. And the final one, I've spoken about ads quite a few times. How do you run them profitably? So who and why? We have a concept in our training called the mind reader offer. And really what that's referring to, you've all had this experience, right? When you're scrolling through Instagram, you've just had this conversation with a friend, you go and sit on the sofa, you scroll through Instagram and you're like, Instagram's listening to me. I can't believe that I've just been speaking about this thing and now I'm being advertised this exact product. Or you see an ad and someone kind of describes what you're experiencing, even what you're thinking sometimes, and you're like, whoa, it's literally like they've read my mind. That is advertising and marketing at its very best. It's putting the right thing in front of the right people, the right person at the right time, and it combines these 3 elements is how it works best. So it's your offer works, how you communicate to your clients and your market, it works the best when you are solving a clear problem with a clear outcome. So not just fitness coaching, it's what am I doing and who am I doing it for? You are using a unique mechanism, which just simply means how is what you're doing different to everybody else? How are you different to bigger names in the industry? How are you different to competitors? How are you different to Weight Watchers, these bigger brands? Why should I listen to you? And it has to work with a total stranger. So a lot of people struggle with, they'll get some initial results because they post on their Instagram and maybe their friends, their family, their former clients sound interested in it and they assume it works. But if you try and put that offer in front of a stranger, it doesn't make sense. They have loads of questions. And really these 3 things in combination, that's what your offer is. That's what your niche you're targeting. Well, you probably heard people refer to it in lots of different ways. Saying I work with new mums to get back in shape is kind of some way there, but it's missing a big part of the puzzle, right? You're missing so much with that, and you'll struggle to make that work with strangers. It doesn't sound any different. It doesn't sound that enticing. It doesn't really explain something enough and enough clarity for somebody to go, that's me. I'm really interested. We have to get someone to think when they see your marketing for the first time, they've read my mind. And getting that right solves so many problems and makes everything else from this point on easier. Most people go wrong with this stuff. It's kind of the most talked about part of building an online business, building any business, is niche and targeting and target market and your offer statement. Most coaches get a false positive, and they get that false positive. It means they end up getting stuck at 10 clients or less. And this could be in this, you could be in this position if you're stuck at 10 or less, or you're right at the beginning. So few coaches ever get past that kind of tiny bubble of their immediate followers. Even though really the scale, the growth, the potential is in the hundreds of millions of people on social media who don't know who you are. And basically the reason it happens is because you post on social media, someone sees it, and they maybe buy the first time you post, but they're not buying because of the offer. They're not buying because of what you're saying. They're buying because they followed you for 2 years and they just think it looks interesting. And it's kind of the worst thing that can happen is if you get an initial surge of success, you go and try and take that to advertising, and it just doesn't make sense to strangers. So we have to get this right. The mind reader offer, put simply, is one that can attract and convert a total stranger into a customer in less than 14 days, basically. So it's about the problem you solve for someone and your ability to explain it in a way that is more relatable and appealing than your competition. And if you can get strangers to pay attention and opt in, you will never have to post on Instagram again. It's very difficult to go beyond this to help you guys with this in more detail, because obviously this is totally different for every single person we work with. So every person has a totally different niche. Every person solves a totally different problem. Every person has a totally different offer. But what I can say to you is you have to know what the problem is that you solve, what the outcome is you help somebody get. You have to be able to explain why you're different, why what you do is different, why is it unique, why should I listen to you? And it has to be explained in such a way that a stranger would want to buy from you. Yes, Yusuf.
I have a question.
Go for it.
In fact, Mathieu has a question saying, what do you mean by false positives in this case?
A false positive is I build an online program, I post it on my social media, and I make 3 sales, and I assume that those sales confirm, oh, my offer works, people want my program, my niche works, and you assume that it's because of those things that you made the sales, when in actual fact, when you post to a very, very warm audience, like the 500 people that follow you, for example, maybe there'll be people who are in there that would just buy anything because they like you. Maybe they've worked with you before. Maybe they're a friend of a friend. Maybe they're a family member. And you assume that proves that this is going to work. And often what happens is people will boost that post or they'll run an ad with that and it completely flops. And it had
What we're
nothing to
looking
do
for
with.
here is reliable results, something that you can replicate. And so the ultimate goal is you build a coaching program that has worked with people who you've tested it, you've developed version 2, version 3, and then you can convert a total stranger into a client on repeat reliably. And you know how much that costs with ads. And then you can just, that for every pound you put into ads, you get £2 back. And then you can just scale up the process up to really as many clients as you can comfortably handle. Christos and Luke, thanks for your questions. We will get to both of those as well.
Hopefully that all makes sense, so guys. Let me know if any of it doesn't. So how to get leads and customers. So what we teach in our program and kind of what we've spoken about already, we teach a challenge-based model that is ultimately completely automated. The reason we do that, lots of different reasons, but it's essentially a way to take you out of the sales process. So it's a lot of value. It's completely free. It's better than a free download. It's better than a recipe guide. It's better than something that people just ultimately never really use. And it's very enticing so that when someone sees this advertised, it's completely free material. They get to more access to you for free, and they then get offered a chance to work with you at the very end. And a small percentage of those people decide to do that, which makes the whole system work. The specifics after that change a lot, coach to coach, but ultimately, we generally recommend a 6 to 12 week kind of front end program because it's easier to sell a single block of sessions or a single block of anything. You'll experience this in your own personal training than it is to sell recurring straight away. But then after that, people go into either group coaching, they upsell to one-to-one, they can be downsold things, they can, whatever you want to sell. And if they don't buy, they get entered into a 90-day follow-up sequence that kind of re-adds them back into the process and makes more sales. So ultimately, the way that we recommend getting leads and sales is by running ads to an automated selling system. Think of this as your best sales call or your best data session running automatically in the background, basically. Why it works, there's a lot of data on this in lots of different industries, but generally speaking, it's very well established that the average buying cycle for a service or software or something that someone consumes on their own is around 14 days. And you'll see this mirrored in all sorts of things. You'll see 14-day trials for all sorts of bits of software. We capitalize on existing buying behavior because people are used to this. They're used to going through free material, trying something out. And not people, when it comes to consumer based buying, so not a business decision, but like buying something on their phone while Netflix is on in the background. No one really used to booking a call for consumer services these days. That's a very old process back when like call centers were the way things were sold. It gives a ton of value and results for free. So I've never heard of you before. I see your ad. I think the ad's pretty good. It kind of speaks to me. I opt in and I get a ton of value and I get a ton of contact with you before I'm even offered to buy anything, which is another reason why it helps you stand out against your competition. And someone either therefore gets to the end of the process, this automated system, and thinks this coach is a way better fit for me than all the competition I see, and they're going to help me get to my goals and I'm going to sign up. Or they get to the end and think, I'm not quite ready yet. I've got something else going on. I don't quite trust them yet, whatever it might be. But when I am ready to work with someone, this is going to be the coach I'm going to work with. And as a result of that, it's repeatable, it's scalable because it's the same thing over and over and over again. Once it's worked once, you never need to remake it. So we feel that this is better than sending DMs, certainly running sales calls. We think it's better than a recipe guide, than an ebook, than running a newsletter, any of the kind of traditional things that people have spoken about, because it does two things. It attracts the lead, someone who's really interested, and it converts that lead into a sale. And all it has to do is run. You don't have to remake it. You don't have to relaunch it. You don't have to create it again. Once it's working, you just need new people in the front of it. And that's obviously what the ads take care of. So why most never make consistent sales? It's a very common problem. A lot of people we speak to are in this kind of 5 to 10 online client bracket. Seem like some of you guys are in that bracket as well. And they can't scale beyond that. More than likely, it's because you have a lack of leads. You don't have enough leads. If you had 10, 20, 100 people opting in to your business every single week, a lot of people we speak to would say, oh, I'd be able to close them. I'd be able to make sales. But if you had a mind reader offer that we described before, and you had a funnel that converted strangers into customers, you would never have a leads problem because you could always just run ads to that funnel and convert sales from those leads. Your marketing and sales are inconsistent. It's usually created by the kind of rolling the dice, hoping today's post does well on social media. It's what most people do. And your marketing and sales probably aren't scalable. So when you post more on social media, you don't get more leads and you don't get more sales. So a system that we can rely on, something that we can run out again and again and build a business off, is not word of mouth. It's not post on social media. It is, we get 3 sales from 100 leads. Therefore, we can get 200 leads and we make 6 sales. The problem with posting on social media or anything organic is if it was just a case of whoever's posting the most has the biggest business, it would be a very simple game. It's obviously not that. We see people who post all the time who struggle to get it to make a business out of it. And so there's something else in the background causing that. And it's ultimately, if you don't want to post all the time, it's not a life that you want to lead. There's a way to solve that problem with ads, but you have to have a system that converts the ad spend into sales. Any questions, Yusuf, from?
Been answering them as we go along. So
Cool.
Chris was asking about whether we can apply this to LinkedIn ads rather than Instagram ads.
It can apply to any ad platform, as long as the numbers work. So if you can get leads through TikTok ads, Twitter ads, YouTube ads, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, the same thing applies. And that's kind of what's nice is like if you build your following on Instagram and then Instagram's engagement dies tomorrow, you have to then relearn a new platform. You have to learn how to build a Twitter following. If you have an ads process that works on Instagram and then no one really uses Instagram anymore, you can just duplicate that exact same thing over to Twitter or TikTok. So how do you build something that doesn't break at scale? So what most online fitness businesses are a negative flywheel. Jeff Bezos popularized this concept of a flywheel. Amazon is the best example of it. The bigger Amazon gets, the better Amazon gets, because the more people who are on there selling, the more choice there is, the more people buy from there. They can offer cheaper shipping, better prices. The whole thing kind of gets better with scale. The average online fitness business is the opposite of that, which simply means that the more customers somebody gets, everybody has a worse time. The coach has a worse time. The clients have a worse time. Everything sort of decays. Most of the time, it's set up like this. So getting leads is you posting content on social media and sending DMs. Sales is usually you taking sales calls. Onboarding is usually manual. So you spend 2 to 3 hours kind of writing your program, and then you send someone a Loom, send them an email, and explain their new program. And the coaching is usually quite manual, quite repetitive. It's anytime messenger access, it's calls. All of that basically means the more clients you get through that process, you then have less time for the marketing and the sales. And the busier you get, every client gets a slower reply and therefore a worse service. And when you take time off, your marketing, your sales, your delivery, they all stop. So the business can't grow as you get clients, and everything gets worse and eventually breaks. So you can see that the kind of the traditional setup limits itself, and you are still constrained by this like time for money relationship. What we teach instead is a positive flywheel, which means the more clients you get in the process, the better everything runs, the more optimized everything becomes, and your life stays the same. Your hours stay the same. So getting leads is ads on Instagram and Facebook. No button pressing required, no manual work required. You just turn them on and they run 24/7, even if you're not online. Sales is the automated selling system, as I've already covered. Onboarding is all automated using just some really simple software. And coaching, we teach group coaching. The more clients you get, your marketing continues to run. That there's nothing about your time is not required for Instagram ads to run. The busier you get, the one-to-many coaching platform handles most of the questions in client support, and you're building a community of people, meaning your coaching time is still 1 to 2 hours a day, no matter how many clients you have. When you take time off, everything continues without you. And your marketing and sales are built once, and then they run over and over again, which means clients are getting results from your knowledge and your skills, not your time. Most people, at least the ones that we speak to, they move online because they want to break away from this time for money problem that a lot of the fitness industry is subject to. Certainly, if you work in a gym, you make money from your time, but you have all this knowledge, you have all this expertise. It's just not being used anywhere. It's not anywhere for anyone to access unless they work with you in the gym for an hour. Building an online business in this way allows you to take that knowledge, put it into some software, some systems, and people can access that even when you're not online. And that's really how you start leveraging that knowledge and leveraging the skills you have. So what is one-to-many coaching? People ask us this a lot. The way I like to think about it is everything that you do in your coaching right now that can be standardized, that can be documented, that can be turned into a video, that can be turned into a template, that doesn't really require you to do it over and over and over again manually, should be standardized and should be automated. That isn't to say that everything's cookie cutter. That isn't to say that everyone gets the same program. That isn't to say that you don't speak to your clients. But you answering the same question 5 times a day isn't a good client service. And clients relying on you replying to email or relying on you replying to WhatsApp, and you being tired at the end of the day and giving a half-assed reply, that's also not a good service. It just feels like it is because it's taking you time and taking you effort, when you could instead give them access to the best version of that reply, the best version of that answer, have it in a members area, have it in a portal for them to work through on their own. And then what you are applying your time to is the stuff that cannot be automated and standardized. Maybe it's a form check-in, maybe it's a group call once a week, maybe it's making adjustments, however you want to spend your time. But you will find, built properly, your coaching time stays the same week to week, whether you have 5, 10, 20, 50 clients. And that's really where the leverage with online coaching comes in. So why does this work so well? We're just building something online that people are used to in the offline world. People are used to paying for gym memberships. They're used to paying for in-person personal training. They're used to paying kind of this like £100 to £200 a month kind of investment. They're used to it being recurring. And they're used to being part of a kind of a community and groups and having other people with them in a similar position to them. We're just replicating that online. Yes, Yusuf.
So can I just add at this stage, because
Go for it.
you guys have seen the model of delivery. What this does is it gives the gold standard experience for group clients, and essentially they're getting a great deal because they're getting the best version of you, the best version of coaching. They get some degree of customization. They get the community feel, all of this for much cheaper than what they would get for one-to-one. So we've generally found that the retention rate, if you do this properly, is very high for group coaching. So to answer your question, Shabs, which was generally, do you expect that if you want to keep growing, you have to invest more in ads or marketing? This actually depends on your client retention rate and how good the fulfillment is. Because a lot of people we work with are quite happy with 30 clients generating 5 to 8K a month, and that's a kind of solid lifestyle business. It's taking maybe 5 to 10 hours a week to maintain. And they're like, actually, I'm happy with that. I'm not good. I don't want to keep growing things. And so they can just turn their ads off. And then if they have a few clients drop off, they can turn the ads back on again. But it gives you that fine control over it. I know there's a lot of mentors that are like, oh, you want to hit like 30K months, 40K months, 100K, whatever. But the if anyone in the chat has run a business that generates 100K a month, you'll know that it is not sunshine and rainbows. There's a lot of complexity and headache involved in that. And actually, having a lifestyle business where you can sort of control the dial is a lot more favorable.
Yeah.
And
And
it starts with fulfillment.
it does. So I think the if you sell kind of a single ticket price, so like a 12-week package, and there's no recurring, you would have to keep running ads. But what we recommend is you're building a recurring body of members. So you're building people who are staying in your program and paying monthly. What a lot of people do is they'll run ads for a couple of months. With that, you obviously make sales, but you obviously also get a lot of leads. You get a lot of people who don't buy. So if you get 100 leads and 5 people buy, you have 95 people being added to your email list. You roll that forward a couple of months, you start having an email list of a couple of thousand people. So when 2 people leave your program, you can send an email. And I think probably some of you are here because of email, right? You can send an email and say, hey, I've had 2 spaces open for my program. Is anyone interested, or anyone like to join the waiting list, or anyone like have a conversation, or anyone have any questions? Here's the link to sign up, and you'll fill your spaces through your follow up and your email marketing, the leads that you've already paid for. So that's if you kind of want to maintain, as Yusuf mentioned. I think a lot of people overlook this. Like, what if I just took whatever I make in my career, month to month, or whatever I make on the gym floor, and I just made that same number with an online business? There'd be a huge shift in quality of life without all the stress that comes from like hitting the VAT threshold in the UK, or having to hire a team, or you can grow the business however large you want to. But I think that's a pretty big outcome that a lot of people don't talk about and overlook. So yeah, that's why this works so well, because we're just building a recurring um, package. If you were to sell like something like a 2 grand program for 12 weeks or whatever, um, it's a lot more than the average price for fitness help. So when we think about high ticket, mid ticket, low ticket, I think people think that means, is it expensive? Actually, really what it means is, how does it compare to the average price for a similar service? So if I want to lose weight, for example, just to keep this simple, I could go out and buy something that costs £7 that would have advice in of how to lose weight. I could probably even work with a coach, someone like James Smith, for whatever his lowest price program is, like £20 a month, £30 a month, something like that. And so if you're selling something that is 2K, that is orders of magnitude more than that, more than the average for personal training, for fitness and nutrition advice, you have to justify that in some way. You have to kind of do cause a lot of pressure, a lot of emotion. There's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of time that these people will require. And it's very hard to get that person to buy that again at the 12-week point. But if you charge what a client is probably expecting, which is about £100 to £200 a month, and then just really over deliver with a great service that you've built out, you don't need a sales call for a £100 to £200 decision. It can be done automatically. Coaching can be group based, but still incredibly high quality, and clients can stay for a long time. I think our record is 12 years. Yusuf, what's our longest
Yes,
client?
he signed up 2011, so that's God,
Ages.
20 to 9. My mental arithmetic isn't going so
Me
well.
too.
If anyone can calculate
Me
that for
too.
us, that would be very
Someone with a
appreciated.
calculator help us out. It's an accountant and a doctor that can't do maths. So speaking of maths, how do you run ads to fill your business? So people get scared by ads. They think it's this kind of mystical way to just line Mark Zuckerberg's pockets. It's pretty simple these days. There's nothing magical about them. Ads work because the funnel works. And by funnel, we just mean, where do people go when they click on an ad? right? I click on your ad. What happens next? That's the stuff that's going to convince me to buy. And that's the stuff I've just covered before. For us, that's the automated selling system. It's very valuable. They get access to a lot of material. They get access to a lot of stuff to help make the decision, and it will make a sale. If you just promote content for no reason, it won't work. If you just promote sales calls with no context, they won't work. A lot of coaches have tried and failed with ads because they're often the niche, don't work with strangers. And so a cold audience, it just doesn't work. They can't get leads. Or they can get leads, but they have no way of converting those leads into sales and they just lose money. And unless you want to spend all of your time trying to become famous on Instagram, setting up systems that allow you to use ads and run them profitably is the best use of your time. Because once you've figured it out, you will never have a lead problem. You will never have a sales problem. Everything else is just like tweaking and figuring things out from there. How to run ads for free. How's that for a clickbaity title? What we mean by that is the first time when we build things out and clients join our program and we test things, generally speaking, it's best practice to run kind of your one final organic promotion. So what most people have done, assuming they've done anything organically before starting to work with us, is it's very direct. It's like book a call, speak to me, buy my program. That's all of that social media is all about that. And when you flip that script and say, hey, I've built this new thing and it's loads of value and it's you get to speak to me and it's completely free, they get quite a lot of interest out of it. And we kind of tap into this segment of their followers that they've never reached before because everything's been very direct. And they're able to really like mine quite a lot of interest and quite a few sales from just people they know they're following, even from tiny, tiny followings. And if you can do that, it's a great position to be in, and it just validates things. It gives us the ad spend that we need to run ads. So here's just some examples. So this is all from beta testing. 7 sales, 17 sales. This one was 7 people, over a grand collected up front. So all that stuff is that's just people testing things out in the beta stage. I shared some more earlier in the presentation. But if you get that validation, it's like great. My ads work. Sorry, my copy works, my niche works, my price works, my funnel works. Everything works. I just need to find the ad combinations that work, and I have the budget paid for. The alternative, if people don't want to go down that route or they can't do an organic promotion, is we just start with £100 ad test, £10 a day for 10 days, and scale it up very, very slowly. So if you're in this position, that gives you the budget you need to run ads. And then everything else is just an input output equation. So the target that we have is 5% of leads, of email opt-ins, become customers. So 100 email opt-ins make 5 sales, no sales calls needed. So 100 leads equals 5 sales, £500 a month, etc. And you can then work out like, what can I pay for a lead and still remain profitable? In this example, if 100 leads made £500, you could spend £5 per lead and break even. So anything less than that is profitable. Hopefully everyone stuck with me on the maths there. But here's just some examples of people in our community getting like leads with ads for £2 a lead. And I think this one's even better, like 50p a lead, £1.33 a lead. It's insane, right? When you think I spend all these hours like dancing in my kitchen, pointing at food on the shelves to try and get leads, and I could have paid 56p for one. It starts to make that seem like a pretty bad use of time, right? So all of this as well is assuming that 100% of clients cancel. So actually, if people stay, which is what we were speaking about before, for example, you spend £250 on ads, you get 100 leads, you make 5 sales, you make £500. So you've doubled your money in month 1. But then if those people stay, that's £3,000 lifetime. So £250 on ads into £3,000 lifetime. No DMs, no sales calls, all automated. All you have to do is run it again. So the launch process for this, some of this stuff might be a bit too advanced or not that helpful, but I wanted to cover it anyway. This is what we do. Everybody produces 2 bits of ad copy, 4 images, well, a few audiences, and then we just let Instagram do the testing for £100. You throw all of that into Instagram's AI machine learning magical system, and it just says, oh, hey, this is the stuff that works. You don't have to do any hard work, really. It does all the hard work for you. Some combinations work, some don't. We just stop the ones that aren't working and keep the ones that are working running. And then we just make variations of the ones that are running. And that's how you run ads. That's the secret. When you see all these agencies offering to run your ads for you, that's all they do, I promise. And then you just rinse and repeat. And scaling is just literally, once you have it working, it's the same process. It's the same same landing page, the same sales funnel, the same price, the same program. You just need new people to see it. So £100 equals 2 sales, £1,400 equals 28 sales. You stop when you want to stop. And oh, these are Phoebe's numbers. This is just a first launch. This was 29 customers in a day, 18 grand week. This is a 2 grand finish to a challenge, 9th sign up in a single day. So that's what's possible with this stuff by just scaling it. And the 20-minute workflow, once you have all of it running, takes you 20 minutes a day to manage. All you need to do is check the numbers every 2 to 3 days. So rather than spending all day on Instagram, on social media, posting all the time, you just check it, see what's working. As I said before, something's not working, turn it off. If it is working, you leave it on. And that is all of your marketing and sales done. Marilyn, ads can be images or videos. It's up to you. Most people start with images though when we work with someone because they're just far quicker to use. Gabriella, we do, but not right now, I'm afraid. If you follow us on social media, you will more than likely see some of our ads as a result. Was there any other questions, Yusuf? Or
We share all of the swipe files and guides on how to construct your ads and so on. And then as if you can scroll up a bit, Johnny, that thing about the rinse and repeat. This is where if anyone follows or knows of Bruce Lee, I fear not the man who's practiced 1,000 kicks once. I fear the man who's practiced one kick 1,000 times. That's where you start to really build compound interest on each round of your ads and your challenge because you're gathering data on what your potential clients are resonating with the most, and you're using the same page, the same angle, the same headline, so you can make these subtle tweaks and you can really improve the numbers as things go along, and then you're becoming a real specialist rather than what most people are used to when they're working on the gym floor as being a generalist, trying to serve Doris, who's 75 and got osteoporosis, and then you've got Brad, who's 22 and wants to gain muscle, and you spread too thin. Whereas with this, you become really dialed in to your offer, and that's where you can start putting up ads and posts that you'll get the response of like, oh my God, you've read my mind. And it's just because you are so tuned into your niche by that point because you've got the data.
so we can move into Q&A now. Going through this process, how to work with us, if you're interested. If you see this and you think, I'd quite like my September to December to look like this, I quite like to get this ready, I quite like your help. If you're interested, you can schedule a call with us and we take you through basically a customized version of these 4 questions. So, problem with a presentation like this, there's a lot of you listening. It's very hard to give everybody kind of specifically what is this for each person. Everyone's in a totally different position. As I've said here, in our clients right now, in our current client roster, we have literally, and this is going to sound like an exaggeration, but I promise you it is true. We have businesses doing over $1 million a month in the fitness industry, all the way through to people who start making 0 a month in the fitness industry. And we help all of them. The system scales and works for all of them. So for me to give you guys a more concrete version without knowing the specifics of your business and what it looks like and the challenges you have and the background and your goals, it's impossible on a presentation like this. We can do it on a one-to-one. It can be on Zoom, it can be on a phone call. It's in as much detail as you want, because I'm sure you will have specific questions. You want to know what it looks like. You have doubts, you have concerns. You want to see examples of ads and things like that. So yeah, that's the next step. If you guys are interested, if you'd like to start to work with us in September, the next step is speaking to us. I will share a link for you guys to book a time that works for you. And if anyone has any final questions, we'll go over those.
Cool. Shabs, I will reply to you if you've already spoken to Phil. You can just send us an email here if you're ready to get started. Great. So, guys, thank you for the questions and for your patience. We have a few, so I'm going to run through Lindsay and Christos, and then Luke, Tim, and Christos again. So, and then anyone else post in the chat below. So, Lindsay, you said, just thinking, if I saw an ad online and it appealed to me, but I clicked on the person's profile and they had little followers and content, it would put me off. So, how do you work around this? So, yeah, Lindsay, this is a good question, and the way we do this is by having what we call a shop window, and that only has to be 9 posts that you've got on your profile. Three of those are commonly asked questions. Three of them are testimonials. One of them isn't about me. Just, hey, my name's Lindsay. This is who I help people with, um, and then the other one is a tour of your program, and then the final one is how to get in touch. That should take you about an hour to make those posts, and they just stay on your profile forever. Then when you're running ads to it, anyone who's like then wants to stalk the profile and see what you're about, they're not just looking at a blank profile or a couple of family photos. Everything's in alignment with that, and then you don't need to touch the social media profile again if you don't want to. I know that Sean was saying the same thing. He's got a kind of aversion to Instagram that I definitely share, and that's the way you handle it. And then all of your leads come in through your paid strategy, which is much more reliable. You're not having to then kind of shake your booty for the algorithm as well. Um, and then anyone who comes into your world, you're then building relationships at scale. So hopefully that's helpful. Christos, is the weekly call just a Q&A, or have you seen other live call formats to be useful? So this is to do with the group coaching delivery model. We do a mixture of Q&A and community or accountability calls within our fitness offer, but depending on your offer, depending on the style of it, we've seen some people that basically use these calls for like group therapy. It depends on how you structure it and what the vibe of your program is. If, for example, you were doing a entry level fat loss program for people who are obese and afraid to go into the gym and you need to create a safe space, that would have a very different vibe and might not necessarily be a kind of technical Q&A session compared to powerlifters who are looking to improve their total. So, and that could be more of a technique review session as well. So the content changes based on that.
The reason it's so critical, or kind of the reason a community is so important, is you probably experience this yourself, right? Like somebody will sign up to work with you to like lose a certain amount of weight for a wedding or like whatever their target is. They get that and then they leave, right? So the value of information, the value of a result, the value of kind of the program being written for somebody goes down over time, but the value of community and accountability stays very high. And that's something that AI apps like competitors can't replace. If I get on a call once a week with people that I've been on calls with for the last 6 months, and that momentum holds me accountable, that's such an incredibly valuable part of what you do, because you're building and curating a group of people in a similar position with a similar set of problems, with a similar set of goals, following a very similar or maybe exactly the same structure of a program. They're all kind of training on the same days. It builds a very powerful community. We've even had clients like become friends and meet up in like different parts of the world, even when we've never met them before, because the power of community is so critical.
Yeah, 100%. And we always think as coaches that it all rests on us and we're the ones that have to deliver the value and everything. But actually, you're not that important. And that's kind of a relieving thing, as that's the good news too, because it means that the power of community is what really causes people to stay and get a lot of enjoyment from your program. Tim, these guys are legit. Program is very well structured. Very good to see you, Tim. So Tim's working with us, and yeah, I appreciate the shout out. We'll slip you that fiver in a minute. Amy, thank you for this. This has been great. Looking forward to my call with you tomorrow. Great stuff, Amy. Looking forward to speaking to you. Um, wow, the chat is going nuts. Let's uh, Matthew, what was the last piece? Posts on your profile. The other ones you've mentioned are the FAQs and testimonials. Sean, as a 55-year-old man, I don't have the face for Instagram. I'm sure you do, Sean, but I know the feeling. William, thanks for the presentation. Very useful, guys. My niche would be to improve surf fitness and surf trips. We have a couple of
Love it.
people who have a similar niche and they're doing very well because surfing, paddleboard, paddle, it's all very intent driven. So someone who's kind of problem aware and solution aware is much more likely to want to sign up with you. So yeah, for sure. And if you can, it's a very fun niche as well. It's having to explain kind of basic concepts there. Mike, what software do we use for coaching? So have a look on our YouTube channel, Mike. We've got several rundowns of software for client acquisition, retention, delivery, and then also we just give you the whole thing with all the automations and templates and everything if you were to work with us as well. But we have some recommendations on our channel if you're doing it as a DIY. Sorry, shall I give you a chance to
I was
answer
going to
some,
say you're
Johnny?
smashing that in all of it. Well, where are you up to?
So we're up to
Delia?
Delia. I have a personal training background
Absolutely.
and group fitness instructor with life coaching and working on mindset. Will this work for me?
Without question. Yeah. I think um the thing that's most important is the ability to help someone. And that sounds so obvious, but if you can get somebody a result, and if especially if you have kind of an inkling of like, I'd love to work with this sort of person. Like if I could work with anybody in the world, I would love to work with this sort of person. More than likely, there's 30 of those people on the internet, or way more than 30 of those people on the internet that would be interested in working with you. And so that's what the real benefit of online coaching is you're not constrained to your local town or your local gym or people you can reach geographically. You can now really work with anybody. And the more you know about the sort of problem you're solving, the sort of people you want to work with, the more you stand out, the more likely you are to work with for them to pick you as your coach, as their coach. Uh, what onboarding platform do you mean, Gabriella? Do you mean in our for what we teach our clients or ourselves in our own business? Christos.
Sorry for spam, just posting in here in case the Q&A section was missed. I've been reading your emails for a while and eager to pull the trigger soon. There's the power of email marketing, Johnny. But I've read that you don't just accept anyone. I'm wondering what criteria you're looking for in enrolling in your program. So yeah, that is correct, Christos. We have an application process because of the nature of the guarantee, and there's a few requirements to make sure that we can get you the best result and that we're the best fit for each other. But very happy to chat through that on a call. It's not a waste of time, and you can ask any questions about the process as well.
The simplest way for that, Christos, if you click the link above, I'll share it again. Um, the way we kind of book these sessions is there's a short application to fill in beforehand. We review those applications and just check that, like even before we speak, like, are we going to be wasting your time? That's kind of the first level. The second level is the call itself. So we see the call as like a two way process, right? Part of it, the first part of the call is us asking you questions typically about where you're at, goal, background, if that's relevant, targets you have, anything you've tried in the past that hasn't worked, why you think it hasn't worked. And the second part of the call is you asking us questions. So anything you want to know about what we do, how it works, pricing, all that sort of stuff. A couple of people have asked about pricing and why we don't share it. I just mentioned before, like we have businesses doing $1 million a month in turnover. We have people right at the beginning, as you probably guessed, like their experience with us doesn't look the same. We have a lot of different options, and so we try not to say our program is this, because then you join thinking, great, I'm going to get that option, but that might not be the option for you. So we do it on a call. If you've had one of those calls before, you've experienced it. It's pretty simple. We just lay out the options at the end.
Christos, we made a mistake. You do qualify because you're Greek. Mike, who is on the team and is Greek, has given you the free pass. So yeah, you're all
Yeah,
good, Christos. Um,
automatic pass.
Andrea, how do you deliver value with a standardized and not a bespoke online program? Andrea, I'm going to take a guess that you are an in-person trainer because this is a very in-person trainer question. If not, let me know. But this comes from the specialist versus generalist thing. The group program that you offer and the ads and the targeting and the marketing, all of that is delivered to a very specific person solving a specific problem in a specific way, and they're in the same situation. So that's where you become a specialist. There's actually less customization needed. You still have options within that, but because you become a specialist, you become very good at solving that one problem. If somebody needs further customization, if they're working around an injury or they're working with limited gym equipment or whatever it is, that's where it's a perfect opportunity to bring them into a one-to-one program. So you take them from your group program and say, hey, for an extra £100 a month, we can work together on this for additional customization or additional depth or proximity. So that's how you handle. You have the core group, which is standardized but semi-customizable, and then one-to-one if someone needs something that's much more custom. Liga, will this be available to rewatch? I want to go over it on a slower pace. Yeah, no problem, Liga. Because you've made it this far, we will send you the recording. Christos, let's go. Mike the Legend, excellent. Andrea, thanks, Yusuf. It makes sense. Great stuff. Sent the link as well to book in a call. Yeah, so if you have any questions about the way that we work and whether this would be the best fit for you, feel free to book in a chat. No obligation, and we can walk through the specifics and how we can best help. Oh, sorry, I've noticed another question here. Have you found being sport-specific niche needs to be problem-focused or aspiration-focused? This depends on the level of athlete. So if they're an advanced athlete, then they generally are motivated by new goals, higher ambition, aspiration. If they are just kind of getting started or they're kind of local level, it's usually avoiding loss or avoiding pain, and that depends on the angle. But obviously, when you're working with one of the coaches on the team, they'll be able to help kind of guide the angle with the marketing. And obviously, you want to get that from the horse's mouth as much as possible too.
Yeah.
Tim, I set up my challenge in Facebook before it started, and they banned me for inviting too many people. Yeah, Facebook can be twitchy about that stuff. It was from the Facebook business page. Yeah, so glad that you've got the ban lifted, but yeah, there are a few different platforms that we'd recommend for the challenge if you're running into issues like that. Seeing good success on WhatsApp at the moment. Luke, sorry, I'm dominating these questions again, Johnny.
You're smashing it.
If an organic launch flops, how do you know whether it's the audience that isn't warmed, prepped, primed, or that the offer isn't right? Ask them.
Yeah. We also have that's very much like lifting up the bonnet and having a look at what's wrong with the engine type question. Like it's a we have kind of a troubleshooting process for every step of what we teach. Obviously, businesses, like no business in the world, you launch and it just works perfectly forever, right? Like things break all the time. And so it's really important to have troubleshooting, even when you're running ads, that you might have similar problems. So we would just need a lot more detailed information from you to know. But Yusuf
Gabriella,
Sanz is the kind of the 80s community. You can ask them, see what they say.
sure. Gabriella, do you guys have employees? So we are a team of 18 people. The model that we teach in here is different to the level of support that we provide within our mentorship program, because it's more custom, it's higher price, it's a much more complex problem to solve. So we work with you one-to-one to help you with this stuff. Mike, do you still offer a business audit? The best thing to do, to be honest, is to book in a call with the link above, and we can walk through the specifics of your business. You get the best of both worlds that way. Andrea, last question. If I'm already tied to a software, Everfit, can we still work together? I've got loads of clients that use Everfit. It's a good option. Luke, fair enough. Nice. Loxley, yep, no problem. Have I missed anyone's question? If so, we are not pieing you off.
No, Noah's asked the question. We have different. I know it sounds like I'm just avoiding it, Noah, but we have different payment options. We have different programs as well. So yeah, I would just recommend for any like pricing questions or specifics. That's all the reason why we have calls is to firstly see if it's even a fit for you, and secondly, to make sure that what we're offering you is the right program and the right option. So there is not just one price, I'm afraid. Cool. All right. Well, hopefully that was. Yeah, we'll send everybody a copy of the recording. No problem. All right. Hopefully that was useful, guys. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks for the kind comments, guys. Yeah, glad you enjoyed it.
We'll speak to you soon.
See you.